A bit gloomy, so I felt like this would be the best time to talk about a book that I can't believe I didn't talk about last year, but I think it was also the last book I read at the end of 2023. So I'm gonna do just start placing it here and talk about said book. Hi everyone, thank you for clicking. I'm gonna get comfortable on my little couch here while I talk about All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. Now, I have to admit, S.A. Cosby has easily become one of my best authors. I read the first book I read by S.A. Cosby was I forget. Razor Blade Tears. Razor Blade Tears. And I remember seeing the synopsis of this book and immediately was like, okay, I have to get this because I had never really read anything like that. So the synopsis of Razor Blade Tears, which you can find a whole video about that somewhere in this channel, was two dads. One was black, one was white, and their sons were married to each other. They were not really as accepting of the marriage, but they still loved their children regardless. And their children got murdered, and they basically came together to kind of find out what happened. And just from there, they got to understanding the life and the community in which their children lived in. That was that book, and it was really, really good, and I loved it. Now, S.A. Cosby and Stephen King are two authors that will pair together for one reason. They know how to build a world and build characters. The only difference is, and this is my opinion, I believe from the Stephen King novels that I have read, Stephen King tends to go, his characters in the book tend to go on tangents, which could be bad or good for depending on the kind of reader you are. S.A. Cosby, on the other hand, the characters that I've read from him don't necessarily go on a tangent, but they do have inner monologues and inner thoughts that kind of shape who they are, which I think is a very good way to frame a character or just frame a word in general. All the Sinners Bleed starts with, oh god, this book was a doozy. Essentially, it starts with a school shooting and everyone's running helter skelter, and obviously the police gets there, and the what they call them, I guess the police chief or chief of police or the head or the sheriff, there we go, the sheriff basically gets there and he notices the person who, is holding the gun. Which, by the way, it's a very small town setting where everyone knows everyone. So this child in question, because it's a child, is the son of people he went to high school with, which is really interesting. And it's almost a very predictable scenario where this sheriff obviously left high school, he went to college in Boston, and he was part of the FBI, but something really happened that got him sent out of the FBI undercover, and he just came back. And there's always been that question of why would you leave the FBI to come back to this small town. There's always been that bit of the story, but he's here now. So there's this school shooting, and this guy has basically didn't shoot any of the students, but they were still frazzled. He shot a particular teacher, which was also coincidentally everyone's favorite teacher. And there's all these questions of why the fuck would he do that, what's going on. And this guy that shot up the teacher, his name was Latrell. He was black and was a white teacher. So you can imagine the politics of what was going on. Now, there was a group of people who were like activists in their own rights, and they were also black, who came to the sheriff saying, why would a police shoot a black guy regardless of what he was doing? I'm going to let you think of that in your own way, because I have my own opinions, and I don't want that to, cloud yours, because that's not my mission here. But there was a lot of conversation about the procedure, and obviously as a sheriff and as police officers, when you shoot someone or you shoot period, there has been an account of your bullets and your, I forget what it's called, but is it your casing where the bullets are held in the gun? Because there was an officer who shot Latrell because they really assumed that he was coming down the steps to shoot the police and everything. He was considered armed and dangerous, basically. So the sheriff had already said, we are still going to follow the procedure, even though a lot of people and there were eyewitnesses who saw what was going on. We have to have account of what happened and just have that on file just in case of anything, which was good in its own right. And him being the sheriff, he didn't really think he needed to give explanations to everyone, and he didn't want to, because he literally just left the scene, the school, trying to make sure everyone was okay, and then he got accosted by these people saying, what happened, why did they shoot this guy, all that was going on. And on paper, it's like, open and shut case, school shoots out, yada, yada, yada. But there was this sudden question of why would he shoot a random teacher? Like, what was going on? Everyone loves the teacher. And it just opens up a kind of worms and, a kind of investigations. And that's how the book starts. That's literally chapter 1 until the book. It's just it throws you in for a loop. And why I said there's an interesting inner monologue that I really love about this author, Stephen King, is that like while he's doing all this, he's thinking, so it's like these people are telling him, oh, why would you let this happen or what happened? And he's like having thoughts like, okay, fuck everyone, I'm just trying to do my job. And even when they ask him questions about why he left the FBI, you then start to see like the inner workings of why he actually did leave. So it's like subtle hints as to what happened, which was really interesting as well. And they're interesting characters as well on the side, which is another thing him and Stephen King have in common. I'm not trying to compare and contrast. I just really love these two authors, and it's funny because they both follow each other on Twitter. I digress. So there's like these two characters. There are a lot of characters in the novel that have their own backstories that almost come to a full circle at the end of the book. So he has like some guy who's the receptionist at the office, the police station that has children at the school and nieces. The guy who actually shot Latrell also has children at the school, and he got sent on suspension, on leave, basically, because he was too close to the case and everything. So all this is going on, and they're trying to investigate what really happened, but then they find out that like there was a lot more going on with the teacher. I don't want to spoil it, but I want to keep you interested. Basically, to sum it all up in a very disgusting but brief way, the teacher was part of this like very, very close ring in which they touched, assaulted, and molested some children, most of them being children of color, and most of them not being actually, and just touching children. And there were like a lot of clips, videos of underage sex, and it was a doozy. It was wild. But there was one more person who they ended up calling the last wolf, because throughout the book he made this whole thing about saying that like there is one more person in this investigation, but the moment you give them a name, you're basically making them some sort of like living legend, because like they've done so much harm, this last person they're looking for in this circle. And the moment you give them a name, it kind of like boost their ego, which is a thing for like most serial killers who haven't been caught. You give them a name because you kind of want to put a name to the case and everything, but it just kind of gives them a bit of more clout and attention that they don't really deserve, especially when it's in a good way. So the last wolf is the last person, and they're basically trying to find him because he's the key to the whole thing, so they can find out how to close the case and everything. And whilst this is going on, he's still killing people, and it's really weird, it's really spooky, and he keeps on sending mail, he's calling, he's sending like dead animals to the police station. He actually gets very, very close and personal because he comes to the sheriff's house, or they think he does, and he attacks his girlfriend and his dad. It's a whole thing. It's bonkers. And obviously there's a little backstory where like the sheriff has a girlfriend and he has his family, and he gets to see like his family dynamic and how he's almost not, because something I really enjoyed, and I think this is personal for me, or personal, but this is my personal opinion, where all in all, this character is not so special. He's not like, it's not like you find out like, oh, the last wolf is his brother-in-law or something. He's not, there's nothing that makes him, he's just a very, very, which is a good job of this author, he's a very rounded person. He has his wits, he knows what he's on about, and he knows what to do and everything, but he's not, he's not special. And I say this in the best way because I really love when a book can just capture the very human things, even on the side of like the murders and everything, right? It's just very human. This is an amazing book. It's a good thriller. I highly recommend. And back to inner monologues of this character, there's something he really references where he has his own opinions and he has his own thoughts about religion, because he lost his mom. Even before the book starts, you realize that he lost his mom, and he has this thought where it's like, if God was XYZ, why did he let this happen? Because his mom was so close to God, and she was such a close, Christian, that why did they let this happen? And obviously you have people who are like, well, everything happens for a reason, and they're trying to comfort him, and it's understandable. For most people who really just want straight up and specific answers, it's like, no, why? If there's no particular answer, then all this is bullshit. And he's kind of battling with his relationship with Christianity, religion, and Christ as a whole, which kind of makes him a very interesting individual to kind of read about whilst you're still following the case. And then you have his dad, who's, I won't say oblivious, but his dad is just like, look, what's happened has happened, and you get to kind of just decide where your fate goes after that, which I thought was a very interesting take on it. If you can notice, I bookmarked or I folded a lot of pages in the book just because I thought it was it's 2 for 2 for this author. I enjoyed him, and I can't wait to read more from him. I'm trying to see if there's like anything, because I know I highlighted a lot about the religion bits just because I thought it was interesting. Amazing book, very human. There's nothing outlandish about it except for the murders that are going on. And when you find out, even when like you find out, I will say, was I a bit underwhelmed with the resolution of this book? Just a little bit, because I thought we've made a whole deal about this last wolf, this last key to the puzzle, this serial killer, and then we find him and it's like, fair. Nothing so special about fair enough. And I was a bit underwhelmed because I thought there'll be a bit more of a, I feel like, no one asked me this, but I wonder what it would have been like if they actually never found this serial killer. And it became a thing of like, what's the sheriff, it would have been like, what the sheriff was really fearing would then happen, would come to life because they've given this last wolf a name and then they can't even really find him. So it makes the legend, or it makes the story a bit more scary. There's a lot to this book. The people who in the beginning of the book who were activists come around in the middle of the book and at the ending of the book again, where they never really come to terms, the sheriff and these people, because it's just going to be back and forth. There's a lot of like the investigative journalism in this book is really good. There's a lot of backstory. There's a lot of like in a Scooby-Doo-ish kind of way where he's following tracks and he's tracing a lot of things, and there are a lot of dead ends, which is a good way to do a thriller. Especially when there's a lot of investigation. There's a lot of dead ends that you think, oh my god, we found it. And there's like a lot of circling back as well. There's a lot of like aha moments. It's really good. It's well-rounded. I really recommend. I think this is how you do a thriller, in my opinion. And this is how you write characters. I love S.A. Cosby. This undoubtedly is one of my favorite authors currently. And I highly recommend All the Sinners Bleed. But I also recommend Razorblade Tears. Whichever I read first is, whatever. If you've read anything by this author, please let me know, because I want to read more from him. But it's one of the things where with him and Stephen King, I just want to read everything they've written, all their work, just because I just want to see it. I just want to like have it on my catalogue. But yeah, that is All the Sinners Bleed, and I hope I've been able to convince you to read this book. It's really good, and if you're not a thriller person, I think this might be a good step into it. Obviously, there are lots of books out there that might be a lot better, which I'm reading one of them right now. And the book I'm reading currently right now is a lot easier to follow than this one, because this might be a bit too complex for some people. But we'll do a good circle back. Anyway, that has been me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking. Send this to someone who's looking for a book recommendation, because I think this is what to read, this is what to buy. And I will see you in the next video. Ta-da!